All right. And now we are on YouTube, you guys. Welcome to JLJ Media's James Lott Jr. is the farmer and Jack Farmer is the DJ. And we're not kidding. He is a DJ.
I absolutely am. And
sure, tell them where they can find you as DJ services.
Well, yeah, you can find me at jackcfarmer.com as well as at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. But James, I was just talking to a buddy of mine, another DJ, and I don't want to jump the gun. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but dare I say it feels like we are through the thick of things. And I have a feeling live events may be coming to us sooner rather than later. We might get to DJ and dance and party together sooner rather than later. I'm not talking about tomorrow or next week, but I'm definitely saying it's like where the light at the end of the tunnel seems to be there as vaccines roll out, as things start to get moving again. So I am very excited about that. I don't know if that's the direction you wanted to start the show off with, but I'm excited. I'm getting eager to get back out there.
No, I'm going to go with you on this one, Jack Farmer. I'm going to ask you why your DJ friends think that we're closer to it than later.
Well, because like I said, vaccines are getting out, and the longer the vaccines are out, the more the people who need them the most are getting them. And that means the need to quarantine and stay socially distanced seems to drop as more and more people get vaccinated to it. But also just as I see venues opening up, sports auditoriums opening up, and I'm starting to get more inquiries again about events, and people aren't postponing anymore. And it feels like things are starting to settle now. I'm not a germologist. I've always said I don't know anything about viruses, so don't quote me as saying this is whatever regarding the virus. I'm just saying it feels like things are going to be opening up in the next few months, at least a little bit. And so I'm excited about that because I want to get back out there. I want to party. I want to do it safe, but I also want to get back out there, James.
I want to ask you, is there such thing as a germologist?
I don't know. I'm sure there is. I learned a long time ago that if you just say that's what you are, people are like, oh, that's cool. Put it on your business card and it works.
I'm just like, I'm like, it could be a germology. I learned some germology.
Yeah. Would a germologist be the person that talks about a virus, though? That's the other question. Are those two separate things?
Virology? I have no idea I don't know science. I was a nurse.
Virology sounds like the name of an album from an 80s.
Vitology.
Yes. Yeah. Or that would be 90s, I guess. Yeah. Virology.
That was 90s. My creed. I don't know. If they were a virus. I will. Hello, by in chat room. Hello, you guys. I will go with the fact that I want live events to happen. I'm very I'm missing live events. I'm missing seeing live music, live comedians, live anything, and I'm starving for it. I'm a musical person. I'm also I like to go to theaters and see plays and when it comes to music, we're talking about music today and dance music. Those big EDM festivals used to happen. I'm just not sure they're sooner. I think, in my opinion, I have no reason to know anything. I don't know nothing. I'm thinking 2022.
Well, maybe you're right. I don't know.
Concerts. I don't know. I would love to be completely wrong, folks. And all of a sudden they find a safe way to do it where, cause I don't know if I'll go to a concert right now. As is, I want to go to one. I don't know if I'll go to one if it's just regular. Everybody free for all. Let's go inside. I mean, if they have things in place where it's kind of safer, I'd possibly go to one.
Yeah, and I should say, and like I said, I should preference, I don't think it's going to be 70,000 people inside the Georgia Dome or wherever just partying. I'm saying, I don't know why I said Georgia Dome. That'd be a weird. That's a football, like for football. But the point is, like, I don't think it's going to be a bunch of people inside tomorrow. Like I said, I want to put that asterisk on there. I don't think that's happening. But I do think that smaller events are going to continue to happen. I think we're finding ways to keep them safe and finding ways to do things outdoors and that kind of stuff. So, hey, I don't know. I think good things.
I think my computer's going to blow up. I don't know what's going on all of a sudden. Like, why make a noise? I know. It's like, oh my God, we're going to blow.
Is it the fan?
What?
Is it the fan?
Maybe it is. Like, obviously, you make a noise. You don't make noise normally. Well, you are a little hot. Why are you hot?
It might be the The battery or the charger? I had to get I had to replace my chargers just recently.
Okay, that might be it. That's not weird. Interesting. We'll see what happens. If I blow up on TV, it's fine.
Hey, if you're gonna blow up, you might as well do it on TV. That's what I always say.
For the views. All for the views. But anyway, so no, I miss concerts. I am a concert goer. I miss all that. So I'd love to have it happen. I'd love to have it. The last live event I went to was in 2019 in November. I saw the Donna Summer musical at Pantages.
Of course, that was the last thing. Why does that feel like this? Of course, that's the last thing you went to.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, my sister and brother-in-law in February saw Joel Coy at the Forum.
He's good. He's funny.
I know Joel Coy. He's a nice guy.
Comedian. Do you really?
He is. You guys don't know who he is. He's a comedian.
Yeah.
And that was in February. They went to the Forum and saw, and like they didn't catch COVID or nothing. They got something. It's just kind of weird. It's like that's the last things we saw. That's it. Live. I'm a performer. I miss performing live. I released a new album last year. Couldn't perform it live. I agonized over, should I release an album? Should I put anything out? And like a lot of artists I know who watches it, they know the same dilemma. Like normally you put something out, you promote it.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do a video for a song I wanted to do because everything is shut down. Nobody was, for the first 3 months, no one was filming nothing. We're all trying to figure it out. So that was weird.
Yeah, I remember I was DJing a wedding because it was like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday where things really started to hit. And I was DJing a wedding on that Saturday. And I remember there was just this weird, like, should we be like, it was before we all because it was like that Monday when everyone said, okay, everything's shut down. And it was this weird, I remember the maid of honor didn't show up and there was just I can't believe she didn't come, but maybe she's right. Who knows? And should we dance? Should I tell everyone to get together? It was just this weird, it turned out fun. It was a good night. Everyone had a good time and all that good stuff. But it was, I'll never forget that feeling of is this where we should be? You know what I mean? Because it was still weird and it was just a weird time. Yeah. Very interesting.
So I'm going to read the definition like I always do. I just went to the Webster Merriam Dictionary.
Okay.
And said, let's find out what the definition of dance music is. It's a noun. I don't know if that's anything. Music that is suitable for dancing. I thought that's ironic. Also called dance pop music with a strong electronic rhythm. That just makes me laugh. I don't know what the fuck that means. It makes me laugh. Yes, dance music is stuff that makes you dance. I mean, that's like a no-brainer. Thank you, dictionary. When I think about this whole subject, there is so many different kinds of dance music. That's why you have names some of them. There's dance pop, which could go to dance rock. There's new wave that had danceable beats in it. Disco, of course. House, techno, which evolved into EDM, which is called electronic digital music. There's dance rap, New Jack Swing. Teddy Roddy was a big part of that whole thing over there. Then you have folks who just do remixes of songs, dancey beats. Mariah Carey is known to remix. She actually is a fact, if you guys don't know this, she actually goes in and re-records her vocals for the remix version. So she's always done that. Something she does. There's big band. There's swing music, jazz music, that kind of big ballroom dance, which Dance with the Stars is big because of that. There are people who come out who are dance artists, like a Paula Abdul, a Janet Jackson, even Michael Jackson on some level.
Yeah.
I even throw in a Milli Vanilli.
Ooh. Blame it on the rain.
Girl, you know it's true.
Girl, you know.
You know it's true. Then there's the ones that are the faceless. They're fronted by some group who does the stuff that like a Martha Wash who have sued some people like CC Music Factory, Seduction, Black Box, those early 90s stuff. So there's all kinds of dance. There's also rockabilly. I always think of Stray Cats. Stray Cats also does very danceable stuff.
We're gonna rock this town, rock it inside.
She's sexy at 17.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a lot.
Over the years has become kind of weird. Like when it came out, it was fun, but now I feel like, why are we singing about this sexy 17-year-old?
A lot of songs like that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's what I was singing it my whole life, and now I'm older. I'm like, that's not good.
Yeah.
Jack it was a different time. It was a different time. Like that was a different time. It still wasn't good.
Right.
But it's such a broad. We're not going to cover everything. Obviously, it's such a broad. We'll be here for hours, and it's a broad. We're going to touch a little bit. Maybe this is part one. Maybe it'll be part 2 or 3 of dance music at some point. But it's kind of overall just dance music. Where does dance music in general for you, Jack, in your personal life, not professional yet, but your personal life, where does it fall in the rankings of genres?
It's interesting because there's different like phases of my life. When I was younger, I was not into dance music at all. I was too cool. You know how it is when you're younger. You're like, I don't dance. I'm a cool dude. I just cross my arms and act like a cool guy. Now I love it because I like the energy it brings. I think it's fun. I think it's what music is supposed to be. Music can be a lot of things, but I think it's just fun, and it's dance music seems to be the stuff that always lifts me up the most. So I love it. Plus there's that level of, I can appreciate it from a work standpoint as a DJ that, oh, this would work on a dance floor. This is good. But I like it. I think it's all the music that has the most energy. And it's the most fun. And it's, as a DJ, it's definitely the most fun to play, but it's the stuff that when you're driving in the car and it comes on, it cheers you up and it puts you in a good mood. It's probably the best music for feeling good. And why would you not want to feel good?
That's a good point, Jack Farmer. I like that. I have no rebuttal to that. That's really good. I agree with that.
Case closed.
Case closed. That's it, kids. Where's my deer?
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up today. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
No, I mean, in all seriousness, I agree with that. It's happy, upbeat music. I feel folks don't like dance music on some level. Like I would ask you, there's no dance song ever you don't like. Like most people, even the big rock people will go, I kind of like the Bee Gees. Like they'll always have somebody on the side that kind of like was that, that song Rump Shaker. I do like that song. Like there's always one song at least that you like.
Yes.
I don't know. But it's like somebody else. I always feel like I know folks who hate country music and don't have a song for it, or they hate rap, or whatever. But I feel like dance music is one of those things that across the board, if you just don't like any dance music, there's something weird with you. I'm sorry, it's so weird. But at least even if you're a heavy metal person, you'll go, you know what? That Taylor Swift song was kind of funny. That big dance song she did, whatever.
Right.
Look what you made me do, whatever. It's like there's always one or two songs. Like, let's say Michael Jackson was a good, good performer. Like they'll admit something.
Right.
I mean, you not like something. Dancing.
Right. I feel like too, music is such just a part of who we are as human beings. And I think dancing is sort of the next arm of music. It's letting the music kind of take over for you. And I think that's what makes it such a powerful kind of music, and why it lifts people up so easily, and why it's got so many different genres, and so many people at least have, like you said, one song that they can identify with and enjoy, because I think that's just the nature of it. I mean, even if you're like, hey, I'm too cool to dance, there's always that song that makes you kind of like, bob your head a little bit, maybe tap your feet a little bit, which at its core is at least a subtle, small part of dancing. If you're just bobbing your head, that's a little bit. I mean, it's very little, but it's part of dancing. That's part of it. So I think that's what makes it so. Like I said, I think it's the next phase of music is dancing.
Now, do you think? Because you mentioned something a little earlier about not being a dancer. Do you think it's intimidating for people if dance music comes on, that they feel like they have to dance?
Dancing is intimidating for people. And this is the funny thing, is I think people somewhere get in their mind that there's a way you're supposed to dance. And I always try to tell people there is no right way to dance. I mean, well, I guess there's a good way. You can dance well, but you can't get it wrong, right? Like, even if you're off rhythm, even if you look stupid, if you're having a good time, who cares? Even if you're dancing to the words, which so many of us do. Yes. It's okay, as long as you're having fun, as long as you're doing, enjoying yourself. That's what it's about. It's about just letting the music sort of take over, let the music do what it does, and being with other people and enjoying it in that way. But to your point, yeah, people get nervous about it. And I think that's why so many people like to dance in crowds versus dancing alone. I always say it's the zebra mentality. Zebras, they're all striped. You know why? Because when they're together, it makes it harder to see one from the other. And I think that's what people like is lights out, gathered together. You can't really see what I'm doing, but I'm dancing too. But at the end of the day, you can't dance wrong as long as you're having a good time. And as long as you're not hurting anybody, I guess.
Lobo's in the chat room, a fellow DJ who can't dance. He told everybody he's declared he can't dance. Michael B said not for black people. We always get down. But I've seen some black folks who can't dance either. So that's a myth also. I've seen some black. Now I can dance, but I'm saying I've seen some black folks who can't dance. Yeah, so that's a myth right there. Not everybody has rhythm. Right. But I want to say, because for me, I've always been a dancer. So I came with the womb dancing. So for me, dancing was not today.
Must have been tough on your mom.
I was like, ow! I'm crowning and he's kicking me. No, but yeah, no, it's yeah. He said zebras. He said zebras. Yeah. This dude said zebras.
Yeah. Yeah, Flobo mentioned the shirt too. I picked this one up at realjackfarmer.threadless.com. So, if you want yours, check it out.
Oh my God. I love it. I can't say nothing. I'm a king of plugs myself. I can't say anything.
Yeah.
I found this shirt at, I think was it at Joann's or something like that? It was there. It says hope on it. Everybody, that's what it says. Hope. Africa. Yeah, it's true. No, okay. So dance music is something for me. It's probably one of my top 3 genres of all time. I love it so much. And my mother loved it. My father likes some dance music. My mother was a dancer. My father wasn't really. But I just think dance music it gets a bad rap. It's almost like pop music. It gets that rap like it's not serious. And yes, most of the time it's party. It's for But I have heard songs, of course, that were actually had a message. There's a song from the 80s that's very strange. I don't know if you've heard it. There's a huge hit called 19 by Paul Hardcastle. Literally,
sing it for me.
19. It's not a song.
Yeah,
it's footage from the Vietnam War played during a song. I'm saying it was a #1 hit. It was this huge hit. I remember going to the clubs and dancing to it. But you're dancing to it, but it has a message about people getting killed and them coming home having PTSD. But it was set to dance music. So there are situations where songs do actually have a message in them, but set to music. Gospel dance music. There's a group called Sounds of Blackness. And they were black. And they had a song called The Pressure. And it's The Pressure Part 1. Somebody listen to that song. That's all about getting over life. And life is just pressure filled. You can make it through. And it's actually set to a house beat. Madonna, Ray of Light. She said she wanted to make techno music with a soul. And I felt she did it. I felt that whole album was all techno, but it all had a message about her being a new mom, being about the earth. So occasionally it does have, some dance songs they have stories. I mean, it's kind of few songs that got a story. They all have stories. You remember that song 19? Yes, that song is a really like. It's very strange. So sometimes once in a while songs do have a message. I feel like dance music gets dismissed because it's just frivolous and just nothing serious. Like
it's almost subliminal, right? How it, that you put it to a dance beat and you're saying this message, but it kind of takes the edge off a little bit when you hear these messages and these serious things, but you have a dance beat to it. It allows you to sort of take it in without being like, oh, this is a heavy song. This is deep. This is a hard listen. But when you put a dance beat to it, you're like, okay, I can get the message, but it's a little bit easier to swallow. It's a little bit easier of a pill to take. So I think it's a smart move, to be totally honest with you, because then you can even say, even if you don't agree with it, you can say, hey, well, at least I like the beat or whatever. It gives you something to listen to. But it's hard to, when you think about the songs with like great messages, it's hard to be like, oh, I'm going to put in this song and just listen to this deep message, where a dance song, you can go, hey, it's catchy, it's fun, whatever, and listen to it and you get the message. So I think it's smart. I think it's a good way to do things.
That's a great segue to my James Lott Jr. The first song I ever did 6 years ago was a dance song with a message. I strictly did it on purpose. My song is called I Am Ready. And that's the first song I ever did. That started my whole music career. And I wrote it because I was inspired by a song called Do You Love Me by Deepak Chopra and Demi Moore. It's the poems of the Rumi set to dance music. There's a #1 dance hit back in the 2000s. Demi Moore's deep throaty voice does this song. It's so good. The remix is so good. And it's a message. So when someone told me, James, you should do music, I knew it'd be dance music. I said I want to do it with the message. And I wrote a song, and you can listen to it anywhere. Yes, so I plug, Flo. That's what me and Jack do. We plug everything.
Yep.
Yeah, plug it. Plug it in. But I'm saying that's right. This was started. I wanted to do a song with a message, but said it's dance music, and I did. And I've done some since, but that was my first song because I was inspired by another song that was, you're in the club, we're doing whatever you're doing, just drinking, having a good time, but the message is coming in there somewhere. It's kind of cool.
When you first said, do you love me? I thought you meant the Contour song, Do You Love Me Now That I Can Dance? Do you love me? Do you love me?
Another dance song.
I love that. That's what I love that song, by the way. I wish it was more well known. Like I wish I could play it at events more, but I think it's a little bit past its expiration date, I think, is for most places. But I love that song. That's one of my favorites.
I'll say that's one of those songs. There's a Dirty Dancing also, but it's one of those songs that we said in the last show. Certain things get passed down and some don't. It's funny how certain songs it's a great song.
Yeah.
But why is that song not passed down, but Build Me a Buttercup is passed down? Everybody knows that song. I mean, that's
right.
Why did that one get passed along and not the other one?
Cynical old Jack says it's because some music record company has the rights to Build Me a Buttercup and is trying to squeeze every dollar out of it, where they don't have any more money to make off of Do You Love Me, so they quit pushing it.
Are there any dance artists that you actually like?
I like all of them, man. I shouldn't say all of them, but I like Michael Jackson. Bruno Mars is someone I always go to when I think of at least modern dance artists, though he hasn't come out with an album in quite some time now that I look back on. He's one of those guys that makes me feel old when I'm like, oh, wow, he hasn't come out with an album in 5 years. But then I also like Earth, Wind, and Fire is one of my older ones that I love. But I like dance music. Like I said, I'm not picky when it comes to music. I'm not I'm not one of those people that's like, it's got to be special. Like I like to find the things in music I enjoy, and there's just certain things in just about every song that I like. So I like all of them. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, they're too simple or they're too basic or whatever. I like them all, even if it is simple.
How do you feel about people? Okay, so there is a backlash for a little bit. Follow like Jax Jones, and we'll get to some of the DJ people. He got backlash for a while because after a while he went dance. He was an R&B artist who danced. He was always a dancer. I always thought he was probably the natural successor to Michael Jackson. Him and Chris Brown were kind of the natural ones. But he was an R&B guy. Confessions came out. Well, 8701 came out. Confessions came out. Cemented him as like an R&B whatever.
These are my confessions.
But he had which was a club hit.
Still pops off. Still goes.
Right. But then he went all the way to the other end for a while. I remember he put out, I think it was Rain versus Raymond or whatever. And it was very, oh my God, which I love that song. He just got me falling in love again. I mean, he had some huge hits. Him and Neo. Neo was another one who went totally dance for a while too. And they were these R&B guys. Should we be mad at them for, following the trends and making good music?
Not at all. I mean, because you nailed it. That was the trend of when they made that change. That was the kind of music that was popular. That was the kind of music that was working. And those songs still work. I love playing DJ Got Us Falling in Love Again. I like any self-referential song I can play. So I always like to play that one. But it works. Oh my God, kills.
I love that song. Yeah,
Oh.
I love that song. I love that song. I love that song.
It works so good. All of his music works. I have no, like, I don't care when people change their vibe to fit what's popular or to fit what works or to make something new. I respect people who say this is what I do and that's all they do. But I also respect people who can go, look, I've done that. Now it's time to reinvent myself and do something new and try something different. I think it takes just as much courage and guts and talent to do that as it does to say, hey, I do just R&B. So good for them.
I like Neo's Dance Phase also. Beautiful Monster is a great song. He had a couple of songs that are really good. Somebody's mentioning Mr. Fingers, Frankie Knuckles, who I knew actually. Black Box, the Party Girl soundtrack, which I have. I love that soundtrack. Basement Jacks, I love them.
Mm-hmm.
Chemical Brothers, I saw them in concert. Daft Punk, actually, speaking of dance music, today, Jack Farmer.
Yeah.
Heard the news, right?
Yep.
I was like, okay, so for me, I'm going to ask you, because this is something I'm glad Michael B brought this up. I was going to bring this up in the show anyway. I knew of Daft Punk when they first came out back in the 90s. They came out, this was before Around the World and all those songs. It was early. And of course, a little side note, the offshoot, Stardust. Music Sounds Better With You. One of my favorite songs of all time. Love that song. I think you play it anyway. I used to play it all the time as DJ. Daft Punk was so creative and so danceable. I'm saddened that they broke up.
It's a bummer because they were one of the, at least for me, one of the bridges to techno music at the time. Now, if you say techno, everyone thinks you're old, but
I know.
But it's which I guess is becoming true at this point. But
you're getting old. Yes.
But it is because there was a while where it had a big scene for a while, but it wasn't like mainstream. And then different groups like Chemical Brothers, Daft Punk, they were sort of like this bridge into everything else. And so it's a bit of a bummer. I still play. I always say it's one of the best encore songs you can play is One More Time. If you're playing music and you're like, thank you, good night, and everyone's like, one more song, and you hit that one more time, and everyone's like, oh, it's a great one. I always think it's funny when you're someone as great as Daft Punk, why even announce that you're retiring? Like, you just don't make music anymore unless you decide you want to make it again. Like,
it was the publicist who gave the announcement. So I was like, okay, well, retired, broke up, whatever. The point is,
maybe this is
together at the more doing music.
Maybe this is just their way of getting into. They're going to have a reunion tour or something once everything pops back open.
Maybe. Never say never, folks. Never say never. Bands do it all the time. We bring up techno because I was playing a song. I always play songs when we're coming on and getting ready for the show.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing I Feel Love by Donna Summer. And Giorgio Moroder, who's actually a major component of dance music history. And they consider that the grandfather or grandmother of techno. They came out in 1977, and it still sounds fresh today because he was working with people like his counterparts, which I love them very much. I love the song Tour de France. I love the song Transcontinental Express. Kraftwerk.
Mm-hmm.
Kraftwerk was another. If you don't know Kraftwerk, folks, you need to check out their work. Their work is it's about techno at its best, at its earliest. We're not talking like Scooter and things come out in the 90s. I'm talking like this is like early, where they're playing with the knobs and playing with sounds and trying to come up with something that was very different. And I'm a big fan of those. And with Giorgio Moroder, he took like this African-American voice and set it to like Teutonic beat, which hadn't been done before either. It was like a contrast. Powerful Black woman voice, not man, but female voice, set to this like boom, boom, boom. They're like this kind of hard, aggressive thing. And techno has some good points in it.
Yeah, techno is one of those things too that we take it for granted now that as you mentioned, it's been around for decades. But if you're an artist and you're a musician, it took a lot of guts to say, I'm going to try using a computer to make music or using these different sounds or using this different approach as opposed to more traditional forms. Because you could have become a joke, theoretically. It could have been silly. It could have been something that everyone looked back on and was like, what are you doing? That's stupid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, again, now it seems very obvious and very clear, and it doesn't seem like a big deal. But I could imagine back then it was a big risk to try this new kind of music and to put your name and your brand behind something like that. So it's cool that people did that. And with music, it's always interesting because it started so long ago, but yeah, it didn't really seem to get into the mainstream until so many years later. It was a long climb into mainstream before it got there. But there's been so many very successful people doing it for so long. It's crazy.
Well, the 90s had a resurgence, and I used to go to raves back in the early 90s. They were underneath freeway passes, and I was in my early 20s. And we used to go to these raves, and someone just put on, be a DJ playing something. They'd play groups like Alternate 8 and early Moby. I saw Moby in concert back in the early 90s before he got really big later in the late 90s or mid 90s, whatever. These are artists that were just putting together these, hard beats. Some of it was rock and roll-esque. It was hard hitting music. It reminded me of mosh pits from, punk shows I would go to, and weird esque, and not just punk, but weird esque shows. Like I saw Guar in concert once. That was kind of strange. And Skinny Puppy. Yeah. It was very strange. And at that time period, the techno thing was happening. It was also, there were groups like KDFMM. They were coming out with stuff. There's all this hard music. It reminded me of rock, but it was dance. And so that was very exciting for me. It was a very exciting time to kind of go to these places, and these DJs would just rock it out. They were like rock stars, but it was like underground. It was like, later on we got the fucking Eiffel 65 and Blue Daddy. I like that later. Okay, later. I mean, and then 90s came with all that 90s, it really became dance. Real McCoy and La Bouche and all those. I like all that stuff, but it was very bouncy, limited, very bouncy techno pop.
I was gonna say those were the ones like Alice DJ and stuff like that were the ones that they were my run away. Yeah.
Wakefield and all that. I mean, oh my God, it was so bouncy.
So those were like that was like the first I was hearing it and the first I was listening to it. But it was always like, I say Daft Punk was like the first real crossover because I'd hear it and I knew it and I was like, oh, like I guess I've always liked music, so I was like, okay, this is cool. But it was always like the separate thing that was kind of like to the side. You know what I mean? Kind of like for me, like punk rock was one of those things. Like, yeah, punk rock's here, it's music, but it's kind of like set aside from regular music, because it wasn't like hip hop or rock, or I guess in the 90s it'd be like rap or alternative, you know what I mean? So it's kind of this like, okay, I know it's there, but it's like a separate sub genre thing. But then Daft Punk was the one who was like, no, they're connected. There's a connected line here. Now once, as you get older, you realize everything is connected, but it's like Alice DJ and all those other artists. Those were the ones that was definitely like
Corona, Alice DJ, Technotronic. Flo mentions Justin Enriquez.
I was just looking up Rhythm of the Night songs. I was trying to update my first I double checked to see if I had it, because for some reason I was like, I came across and I was like, do I have that song ready to play once? So I looked it up and then I was like, I'm going to look up some, not to get into the DJ weeds, but like there's like remixes and things with intros and stuff like that you could play with. But so I was like, I'm going to look some of that up. So as far as Corona goes, that was kind of a weird, that name didn't age well, did it?
Nobody was Corona now, but I'm pumped at all. But I used to love Justin Enriquez, and I used to like Set You Be Like Planet Soul, Set You Free. I mean, there was all these songs that when I was a DJ, they were great to play at a time. And when I was a DJ, it was CeCe Peniston, it was Kim Sims, it was Black Box, it was Delight. I'm telling you, one of the songs, I would say that's the song you put on and everybody goes to dance for. I know they do. Everybody goes to dance for it. Yeah, I mean, that song's 30 years old. It's still a huge, like, effing deal.
Yeah, there's so many fun songs like that, though, that just, I think they age well because, again, the thing about music is it's like the dance music is it's fun. So like it ages well because if it's just supposed to be fun and it's not supposed to be taken seriously, then it can age. But if it's like, you know, like certain heavier songs or like deeper meaning songs, they can be good and they can age well as well. But it's also kind of like, I don't know.
You mentioned age, and I'm going to mention this because, again, I'm in my 50s, so and I like dance music, and it's almost kind of suggested that dance music is for the younger people. Even I think you're too old now too. Actually, I think it's one of those kind of things where it's like it's for the young kids. And they go up to the party. Full brings up a really interesting album and song that was huge in 1998. Cher's an anomaly, of course. You know she's an anomaly. She comes back in her 50s with the biggest hit of her career in the world, Believe. Madonna a year later
if you believe in life. Sorry, I'm just gonna sing every song that we
remember, less than 30 seconds.
Yes.
But I'm saying a year later, Madonna in her 40s comes out with Ray of Light, and that whole album. Diana Ross in her 40s came out with I'm Coming Out, and that whole album, Diana. It's funny that there's some older folks who can still come out. And actually, here's a little piece of trivia for all you folks out there. Yoko Ono. Yes, that Yoko Ono is actually a dance club diva. She's had more #1 hits on the dance charts than most women. In her 70s. She has songs. And some of the songs are good. Some of them are actually good.
You know, it's interesting. I literally just today talked to a couple who's getting married, and they're looking for their DJ. And they were talking to me. They said, "Hey, we're in our 30s, so we're not sure how much the party's going to be." And I was like, "Dude, don't worry about it." Honestly, I think as you get older, because you're more comfortable with who you are and you're less bothered about being judged. Like I said, when I was younger, I was very much like, I'm too cool to dance. But now that I'm older, I'm like, I don't care. I just want to have a good time. It's no fun sitting back. Like I want to dance. And so I think as you're older, you get that more and you loosen up more and you don't take yourself so seriously. And I think when you're someone like a Madonna, you go, look, I'm Madonna. I can experiment with things. I can do stuff. I can try this new type of music that's getting popular. And I think that's why as you get older, it still works. And I think even as you're older, there's that part of you that you don't get to do it as often. I mean, when you're 21, you're going out every night. But then when you're older, you're like, man, I don't get to go out very much. So I want to I remember this. I like this. This is something I'm passionate about, as opposed to like, you know what, I'm kind of going to tingle to dance. I'm just going to go out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. And it's funny. I mean, I think it's rare. I mean, I can speak. I'm old. I do care less than what people think. And it's kind of like, also, again, it brings back the good feeling. Why should I stop at 30? The good feeling should continue the rest of your life. So you hear dance song, and then maybe for a lot of us, we may not even know the new dance songs. So we do. I know a few, but most of us may go back to our, the ones we grew up with, and those are the ones those bring you nostalgia. So why should that end? I mean, why should that? Dance is dance is dance is dance, and I think you should be able to create it as long. I'm saying this as an artist. Create it as long as you want to. If you have a good beat to it and the vocal is good and it's a good time, why? Who cares if you're 50 or 25?
Yeah,
I know that a lot of music's made for the youth. I get it. That's how it started. Rock and roll, everything's all made for this. The voice of the youth. You hate your parents think what you come out with. They don't want to like your music. Now that's changed, obviously. My mother likes some of the same music I like, that I like with my daughter. And I mean, we all have the same. I went to a concert. It was me, my daughter, my grandson went to a Linkin Park concert. We all enjoyed each other. 3 generations.
Yeah.
Nowadays
cool.
It's changing. Now it was very cool actually. And then now with Chester, that's way more cooler than we even imagine.
Right.
But I'm just saying it's more like the generational thing doesn't have to divide so much anymore. It's like now people are allowed to like. My mom likes some Adele. She likes some Ariana Grande. She hears a song here and there. She likes it. My grandmother, she rested in peace, loved her some Prince and John Cougar Mellencamp. She liked both.
John Cougar Mellencamp.
She loves her. She loved her houses. She liked Pink Houses. She liked Jack and Diane, and she liked ROCK in the USA.
USA.
She loved that. Remember, less than 30 seconds. That's 30 seconds. And she loved those songs. She'd watch the MTV video at our house, and she was like, "I like that John Cougar Mellencamp." Like, you do, Granny? Okay.
I think that with older generations too, like it's easy to get. Like I think older generations, we like newer music as well. I think sometimes you just have to get introduced to it the right way. Something I've always seen is what's interesting is when I DJ, especially I bring up weddings because that's where you see the most intergenerational groups. And a lot of times you start off with dancing with older music and the older crowds will dance. But as you get on into the night, you get into newer music typically. And a lot of times that older group they'll stay on the dance floor because they kind of like, they're into it already. And they're like, they stop thinking about, are you going to play music for me or stuff that I know? And they're just feeling the music. And you can feel the music, even if it's newer or older, whether you know it or not, especially because so much of music takes from music before. I always say Dua Lipa, that song Levitating, that's like a disco song.
It is.
So if you hear that, you're not, and even going back a few years before that, Get Lucky sounds like a disco song. Like there's like disco has been around in our music for a long time. You just need to, if you hear disco, for instance, and then you go into these newer songs, you go, oh, I get it. This is what I like. They're doing the same things. But I think if you just take someone who's 70 and say, listen to Dua Lipa, they're going to go, what is this? I don't know, it's scary. But if you give them that sort of like, oh, I get it, like the hit, sort of a gentle lead in, they go, oh, I get it, this is great also.
I was going to say that, and actually Michael B says it takes a good DJ to read the room to know which dance song to play at a wedding or event.
Mm-hmm.
But I was going to say, that's the point. You have to actually find a way to make sure you can mix the new with the old, so that there is a through line that makes sense. That people don't leave the dance floor. They go, oh, this still sounds something retro enough. I'll stay here and continue the dance.
Right.
And the people you just mentioned, they obviously, the one was by Daft Punk, obviously, and Pharrell, and I mean, it worked. Even like a Justin Timberlake, I remember when Can't Stop This Feeling or whatever.
Can't stop.
Movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much a dancey song that you could mix in with other songs in the past, and it totally works. I mean, it totally works, and I think it's something that if you find a way to blend it together, that'd be great. Michael B says, I hate that we had one-hit wonders of dance. I feel the genre is hard. There's one-hit wonders in everything, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, every genre. It just may seem like there's a lot in dance. There are a lot of one-hit wonders in pop, R&B, jazz. I mean, whatever. I mean, rock. There's a lot of people who just have just one song and that's it. I guess it just seems like maybe dance has a lot. Maybe perception is a lot more. I don't think there's a lot more. I think it's just.
I do think that there's a lot of record company shenanigans that happens with that. I think a lot of times, like I read this article about how Third Eye Blind basically got thrown under the bus for that reason. That's why they had like one album and then disappeared, because their record label was like, they signed like a 7-year like record deal thing. And they're like, yeah, but people want something new, so we're not going to produce your next album. And then they were stuck because they couldn't make music because the record label didn't want them to, or like there was this like weird thing where they were stuck. And I think that happens with a lot of pop artists because, again, they come in young and it's like, cool, you're 25, you're a great star, let's make you great. And then they tour for 3 years and like, oh, well, now you're pushing 30. Do we really want to do this again?
Yeah.
And to life, and I think all of us know 30, pushing 30 isn't old, but when you're that record label executive that's like, hey, we found this new 21-year-old though, that's the thing. I can push the 30-year-old or I can push the 21-year-old. And again, I think in the grand scheme of things, no one cares if you're 30, but if you're that record label person, you want to be the person that signs the hot new thing, not the person that's like, oh yeah, I trotted out the same person that did this last year.
It's funny, and you're right. People like George Michael, Prince, they all went through shenanigans. TLC, they all went through shenanigans with things.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. It's people like, I look at people like Britney Spears, who's in the news, of course, right now because of her documentary. But she's somebody who put out good dance music, and she's almost 40 years old, and she still puts out good dance songs. Like, why should she stop? There's folks that just continually. They continue. They get good producers. They get good songs, and why should they just not can't do it anymore because that's it. I mean, Whitney used to put out good dance songs by the time of her career. I mean, like there are a lot of folks who it's feel good music with good lyrics, a good beat. Why should it end at a certain age?
I maintain with Britney Spears that if things had gone a little differently for her, she would have been one of the biggest musical stars of all time. I think she just had.
You don't think she was at one point?
I mean, no. I mean, like she was. Like if you like look at the chart, I think her chart popped real high and then it dropped off because of all the stuff that she was going through. I mean, I think she would have been someone who would have had 25 years of massive success if her life went a little differently. I think we'd be saying she's an all-timer because she just has look, between us, like I love Britney Spears. She doesn't have the greatest voice in the world. She's not going to like, you know, be up there with someone like a Whitney Houston for voice, but she just has like an it factor that is just off the charts. And she has a connection with people and she knows how to do her thing. And I think that if her life went a little differently, we'd be like, yeah, she's been doing this for 25 years straight and just crushing it. And she would have been looked at more like a Madonna who was like killing it her whole life as opposed to the ups and downs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's funny because you mentioned something earlier that I think is a good point too, is that there are artists who try different things, should be allowed to. I remember when David Bowie came out with Let's Dance in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big departure. Suddenly he was doing a dance pop song. Okay, let's dance. Okay, and he did Blue Jeans, no song came after that. It was like he was trying something different. Prince, of course, major example, who, you know, you get from When Doves Cry to Kiss. So he does like, he can do beautiful ballads, he can do a wonderful pop song, he can also do a great instrumental, but he can also do a great dance song, you know, Housequake or Sexy MF or Cream, all these songs. They're all great. I mean, they're all, you can go on, and Kiss, of course, is another one of those songs you go on and dance for, and everybody's like, you start screaming. From the opening line to the, you know, it's a great song. It's just, it's kind of funny. You know, Let's Go Crazy was a big rock dance song. Like
that's such a good one. Yeah.
Great. So, you know, so it's fun. And Michael Jackson, you met these earlier, like Michael Jackson, they changed up things. They tried different stuff. And that's why I wasn't mad at, going back to our original comment, I'm mad at Usher. I'm mad at people. I'm like, it's okay to kind of, you know, if you had a hit that was a dancey hit, why not make a couple more of those? Why not, if you feel you to bring, you know, do that? Obviously there's an audience who wants to buy it, download it, listen to it. Why not? I don't see a problem with that. I just don't.
By the way, Sexy MF, that is a song that once everything reopens, James, and once you're ready to go out, that is a quintessential pre-party getting ready playlist song because it just fires you up. You know what I mean? It's such a good, like, as you're getting ready, getting dressed, you know what I mean? Like that's yeah, it's pre-gaming. Oh, it's so good for that. Yeah. But yeah, I've never understood. People get so, it's very easy to tear someone down for trying something new, but it's very hard to say, I was successful doing this, but I'm going to try something new anyways.
I agree with that.
And it's, you know, I mean, even if I don't know, I've never been a fan of people saying, oh, you tried something new, boo, right. You know, I mean, so I don't know, especially when it's successful. Like, it's funny that people will argue, you know, Usher trying dance music when he killed it.
Right.
He killed it. Like, why? I mean, you can wish he made music, you know, if you don't like it, if you're more an R&B guy, then, you know, bummer. But at the same time, dude, he crushed it. Be happy for him.
I like hearing artists in other genres do a dance song. And there are many people like Calvin Harris and Tiesto and all them will grab folks. And there's a song that was out by Robert Smith of The Cure. He did a song, oh my God, I think it was called Crystal Castles or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I love his vocal on it. It was The Cure vocal, but it was him on a dance song. Chrissy Hynde and the Pretenders has a song with Tube and Berger that I love so much. And she's on it, and I love the song. Her vocal just adds to the song. I think it's like, oh, okay, she's doing a dance song. Okay, sure. It's a quirky video and everything. She's in the video. I kind of love that. I mean, they've remixed some Stevie Nicks songs, and I was like, okay, Stevie Nicks remix, sure, why not? It doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. I mean, it's kind of, I always thought with Stevie Nicks too, because Bootylicious, of course, yeah. Stevie Nicks is Enter 17.
Right.
And they put her in the video for a minute and everything. It's kind of fun and stuff. I like hearing, I mean, why not? Try something different. Why not?
I find that the people who tear creatives down are regularly the people who don't create much themselves. Because I think once you've created something, you understand what goes into it, and you understand that you're typically flying blind. You know, like when you make a song, you don't know if it's any good until people hear it. You know, just like, you know, I know Flobo's in the chat. He's a comedian. You don't know if your joke's funny until you tell it. You don't know if your story is good until you tell it, you know? And so when people say, oh, I can't believe they're doing something new, you don't understand. I think that's just you not understanding creativity. I mean, again, it's okay, I think, for someone to be like, man, I like R&B, in this instance for Usher, I like R&B. I wish they did more R&B, but like, you can't judge someone, like Kid Rock, like, whatever. He saw that his rock days were over, so he had to mosey on over to the country charts. Good for him.
Mosey on over.
Yeah. I mean, good for him. At least, I don't know. Same thing with Hootie, Hootie and the Blowfish, but Darius Rucker.
Darius Rucker. Still Hootie. His name is Darius Rucker.
He'll always be Hootie to me. Okay.
I'm sure he gets it all, and I'm sure he gets it all the time. It's Hootie. Hootie and the Blowfish. I'm sure he gets it all the time. I'm sure he does.
He probably does. Yeah.
I'm sure he does. Like that black guy, Hootie. Yeah, Hootie. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Hootie is probably what he would prefer over that black guy, but.
How about mayonnaise? Everybody.
What about
mayonnaise? Actually, we have to go, and I want to tell people that we'll do more dance stuff. This is a large subject. Next one is, I'll make sure I have it written down. We saw our next one is. Our next one is, next Monday, women's songs. It's all about the women's. We're doing that.
This is ladies' night. Oh, what a night.
Oh, what a night. Exactly. We're going to sing every single song that comes out. Everyone's song that comes out.
Yeah.
We're going to talk women's music. So that should be very interesting, folks, with that one. But Jack Farmer, thanks for doing this. And tell folks where they can actually find you.
The best place to keep up with me is at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. That's where all my comings and goings are listed, so you can see all the different things I'm working on there, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or whatever.
Like that. Or whatever. And this is JLJ Media, folks. We have all kinds of programming on here. So go ahead and follow JLJ Media. There's some red thing down there. Subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, people. I don't have time for this shit. Hit it. Hit it.
Right now.
Right now. Subscribe to me. Also, the audio versions of stuff. I'm on every streaming service you can think of. You can look under JLJ Media or find a particular show. Follow that. Rate it. Comment. Something. And I'm on TikTok at James Lott Jr. But where can you find me? Where all James Lott Jr.'s are sold at James Lott Jr. on all the social media platforms. And I have dance music. You can go to any streaming service and type in James Lott Jr. or James Lott Jr. Third Dimension. You'll find all of my music out there, or my SoundCloud page, which is James Lott Jr. Everyone, have fun. Be careful. Dance a little bit.